The following segment is sponsored by LT Gray Silver Corp., trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ELS.V and on the OTCQX as EGRTF. LT Gray Silver Corp. is focused on silver exploration and development in prolific Sonora State, Mexico. Find them on the web at ltgraysilvercorp.com. Join me for a conversation with a frequent guest of the show, David Morgan, the Silver Guru, an expert on money, metals, and mining, also a lecturer and an author. Mr. Morgan has written Get the Skinny on Silver Investing, available on Amazon.com. His website is themorganreport.com. David, welcome back to the program.
Great to be here.
Silver is near $20 as of this broadcast. When it was above 30, you were saying anytime it was priced below 30, it's a buy. Can you make the case for either a bear or a bull market in silver now? And is silver decoupled from gold, with gold over $1,300 an ounce?
Well, first question, is under 30 a buy? Obviously, under 30 could be under 20, which it's been, the silver's been. If I could go back in time, I probably would have said under 26 or under 25, and at least for that 30 comment, at the time, the best data we had was that the $26 support level was holding quite well. So that's a $4 spread. 10% move down on a $30 investment is $3. And 10% in the financial markets isn't really a huge move relative to stocks or commodities, whatever. However, we breached that $26 level, and nearly the same time we breached the $15.50 level in gold. And since that point in time until now, both have traded under those levels. So if I knew the future, I probably would have made a more accurate prediction or statement saying I'd buy it under 25. However, if silver goes to where I expect it to go, then 25 or 30, certainly you would have more profit buying it lower. I'm not arguing that. But if silver goes to, $100 or $200 the ounce, if you bought it at, 20 or 30, is it going to make a huge bit of difference? It'll make some. But that has to take place. So are we in a bull market or bear market? Right now we're in basically a bear cycle within the ongoing bull market. You got to remember, gold went up 12 years in a row and it's only one year off. So for the 13th year, gold was off. And people are like abandoning ship. Like it's no good. Well, all markets ebb and flow. All markets go up and down. Gold and silver are no different. So the bull market, as far as I'm concerned, is intact. And the reason it's intact is the fundamental fact is that all fiat currencies eventually end. And we're seeing the dollar end its reign as the reserve currency as Russia, China, India, Australia, a lot of these other nation states are determining settlement outside of the dollar. So they're directly settling their trade with their respective currencies or gold or anything but the dollar. And this is continuing, and with what's going on with the Ukraine situation, it looks as if Russia, for the first time, will be able to settle energy payments outside of the U.S. dollar in a large way. And that will be significant because the petrodollar is primarily one of the major reasons that the dollar maintains what it has as a reserve currency. So until that is resolved, the bull market fundamentally is intact. Technically, it's also intact. I'll be speaking in Panama here in a few days, and I'm talking about are we still in a bull market, and I make the case both fundamentally and technically that we are. If you look at the basic technical analysis, touching all bottoms, we have not touched the major uptrend line for gold or silver, and that by definition means that we're still in an uptrend, even though it's certainly been a tough 3 years for silver and 2.5 years for gold investors. As far as does gold decouple from silver, I'd say no. Silver's more volatile, the up and down side. When the bull market started, the gold-silver ratio was 80 to 1. Right now it's 65 to 1. So for me to be convinced that they've decoupled, you would have to see the gold-silver ratio greater than 80 to 1, and it's not. So I think silver is doing what silver does. It's confusing people, but the gold-silver ratio is the most accurate way to see which metal is performing best relative to the other metal. And if you started investing in silver when I recommended it, and the ratio is at 80 to 1 or higher, and you're still holding, then you actually be better off owning silver than gold, as odd as that may sound. Now, again, I qualify that by saying when I first started recommending it, which goes back to the $5 level, of course. Nonetheless, the ratio is what it is. So, no, I'm not worried about that at all. But that's a great question, because I've been getting that question almost constantly for the last few months. It's perplexing to me because I, again, try to remain objective. I look at the chart and I say, well, that's just in its normal bandwidth. It hasn't escaped its normal band. And why are these people so upset? But I guess it's the numbers. 1,300 sounds so much more powerful than 20. It's the ratio you have to pay attention to.
Are the latecomers in the physical market the most upset? I would think that those that came in at $5 or $9 would be fairly satisfied with their investment.
Well, that's true, but in any bull market, the early adopters are few. There's not that many, so the volume is rather light. And then as the momentum starts moving, it becomes more popular in investment, then the momentum increases, and that means more volume, which means more people. So there's more people that bought silver above, let's say, 30 as an example. So between 30 and 48, and never bought it going up to 30. That's just the way markets work. And so even though it was a shorter time frame, you've got a lot of people that bought it a few years back. I have one individual that I know quite well, and I don't know exactly when he bought it. I think he bought it fairly early, like maybe $15 range or so. But he's been holding for these last 3 years, and he's just fed up. It's basically giving up. He's not that old, but he's probably in his early 60s or something. And, there's other goals in mind for his life, and I can tell anybody, what to do. I mean, I recommend what I'm doing, and we do our best in Market Report, as you know. You can hear a subscriber. But the point is that, he said that enough is enough. It's not acting right. It should be doing this. It should be doing that. Well, I learned a long time ago that you never tell a market what it should do. It can be frustrating, but he sold a great deal of his physical, and he's made other decisions with that money, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But he was the one that asked that question. It's like, why has it decoupled? And, I wrote it back and said just basically what I said for the listeners.
We'll be right back. The Ellis Martin Report is sponsored by El Tigre Silver Corp, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ELS.V and on the OTCQX as EGRTF. Silver has been considered a precious metal for 6,000 years and currency since 600 BC. It's been commercially mined in Mexico since 1530 in mineral-prolific and mining-friendly Sonora State. El Tigre's properties with gold and silver mining concessions span 215 square kilometers, or 83 square miles. With an attractive share structure and a strong, proven management team, El Tigre Silver Corp is poised to identify a resource in an area that from 1903 to 1938 produced 75 million ounces of silver and 380,000 ounces of gold. Additionally, their tailing stockpile is currently progressing to production. Learn more about El Tigre Silver Corp by visiting their website, eltigresilvercorp.com, or click through El Tigre's logo on the homepage of our website, ellismartinreport.com.
We offer expert opinions only. Find them on our website, ellismartinreport.com. That's ellismartinreport.com.
And we're back. You've been saying it's a bull market for physical gold and a bear market for paper gold. Does that include gold stocks? Does the same logic apply to silver, David? And what do you think the mindset of these miners is?
Okay. Well, the paper market I'm referring to is futures and options. It's not the mining stocks. The mining stocks have done very well the first quarter of 2014. And there's a great seasonality to the gold and silver markets, and it doesn't work 100% of the time, but it works very often. And for one thing, the miners lead the metal in a bull market. So the miners have actually been doing pretty well for January, February, and March. Now that we're in April, they're starting to cave. And normally in the summer you get lows. So usually all the gains that you make from January to the end of March are given back by the end of June. And that's pretty typical seasonality. So that's pretty normal. But no, I'm not referring to that paper market. I'm not referring to the miners.
Speaking of support, is this going to be a particularly low-ball summer in your opinion?
Early to tell. I think it might be a more robust summer than normal. And the reason I say that is because what's going on with this Ukraine situation and Russia basically opting out of the payment system or being forced out, probably be more accurate, and starting their own settlement system. And this could have big repercussions. Now, it's probably not going to be instantaneously set up overnight and have massive market participation or anything like that, but I think the fact that it's being done is going to be proved to be quite substantial going forward. So I think that might put a floor under the gold investments more so than we've seen in past summers, but we'll have to wait and see.
Some of the brokers and fund managers I'm in contact with are very reluctant to even re-enter metals right now. What will it take to bring them back?
Well, a lot of, and I have no argument against that thinking. I mean, the best way really to enter any market, especially if you trade it, is to wait for the trend to be established and then get on. In other words, don't try to pick the bottom and don't try to pick the top. Try to ride the trend. So a lot of these guys are probably thinking that. So what would it take? Well, it depends how early you find the trend has changed. I said the breakout in silver is about $21, and we've tested it to the upside twice, and now again we're below that. So we need to get above that level and stay there, and we need big volume. And it could be 25, or if you want to be very conservative, what we really need to see to be absolutely certain that the bull market is ongoing and continuing and strong is for those breakdown levels to be pierced to the upside and maintained. So $26 in silver and $15.15 gold. Once those levels are achieved and maintained, then if you're a very conservative investor that you want to be absolutely certain that things are going up, that would be the time. And it wouldn't be the time the first time they go through there, because those levels that were huge support for both the metals. The adage in the commodities market that's very accurate, it's been proven again and again and again, is that old support becomes new resistance. So the old support levels that I just mentioned will become resistance. So you might see silver go through 26 and then be pushed down, then go back up through it, and then come back down. Normally it takes at least 3 times to pierce through a resistance level before it then turns into support again. So I'm outlining basic analysis of commodity markets, and I've been in these markets for a very long time. Does it make me right? No. It's experience that I'm talking about, that it works most of the time. So that's what I expect. So these guys might wait, and of course maybe some of the investors say, well, why'd you wait so long? Why'd you buy it when it was 20? Well, you might have to wait a long time. And if you're good at deploying that money in another sector and making good use of it, and then you wait for the gold market and silver market to prove themselves, then it's not a bad strategy at all.
Are you doing that?
I do it part of my money, not all of it. I'm an investor and a trader, so I do both. I mean, I learned, after getting beat up in the silver market, you can't just trade it. If you're going to invest, you have to buy the physical. And I have a mentality that can do both. Now, most people can't. They either trade or they invest. A lot of failed traders are investors. In other words, they get into the futures market or something, and they buy a position, and then it works out against them. So, well, I'll just wait, or I'll hold it, or whatever. But really, you got to really know what you're doing to trade. I advocate it for very few people. Most people aren't willing to take the loss after a loss that's required if you want to be successful. But silver moves so much that I'm really anxious at times to go ahead and put on a trade and make massive gains in a short period of time, because all commodities can act that way, silver in particular. And knowing that, knowing the silver market as I've studied my entire life practically, why not take advantage of that? So do I do that? Yes, I do. But I'm a position trader. I'm not a scalper. I don't get in there every day. I don't look at things very small level, it's bigger level. And so the amount of trading I do, I may end up doing just a few trades in a year. It's not something I may be out of the market for a very long time, which I have been. I mean, not a very long time. I was in for the $21 move, and then I got stopped out. I was in that for a very brief period of time. Also had a move on for a seasonality that works 85% of the time, buying in a time frame like in August and going into March, and we got stopped out on that one as well. So yes, I do, but they always work out. No, but one to brag about is getting into 19 and right into all the way to 48. I mean, that made up for a lot of mistakes, believe me.
Well, David, as usual, a fascinating discourse. I enjoyed our conversation. Thanks so much for joining me today on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I've been speaking with David Morgan of themorganreport.com. Listen to this segment again on the podcast page of our website, ellismartinreport.com. This segment has been sponsored by El Tigre Silver Corp, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ELS.V and on the OTCQX as EGRTF. El Tigre Silver Corp is focused on silver exploration and development in prolific Sonora State, Mexico. Find them on the web at eltigresilvercorp.com.